Glenn Hoddle, thanks for joining us in the dugout at a very snowy Trafalgar Square.
It is amazing, isn't it?
We're here for the launch of Now TV. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it's a new service that Sky have put on for the 6 channels that are live, and it's another option. You know, they've obviously got some fantastic options, Sky, but it's just another option. Where, for instance, if you wanted to watch the Masters at that period of time, because it's something that's specialised that you want to see, then you can go on to that at that moment in time, and you don't have to maybe be a Sky user on the long term, but that's what obviously Sky are looking for. But so that gives you another option. It's another option there.
Looking at one of the former clubs you managed, Chelsea, what have you made of their season?
Well, it's been a bit topsy-turvy. I must say, at the beginning of the season, I saw them on numerous occasions, and I thought they looked absolutely plumb to win the Premiership. They looked very, very strong defensively, but they also had very good technical players as well, and that system they're playing now, particularly well again, was working well, and I thought, no, they'd be my favourites for the Premiership. Their problem was a little bit, they lost that spine of the team, and a little bit the English spine. John Terry got injured, Frank Lampard was in and out for a little while, even Ashley Cole, and I think that sort of just set them back a little bit, and it was important to Chelsea at that time, and they lost their way during the middle part of the season. They've certainly come in back strong. They've got 2 trophies to go for still, and they've still got the Champions League spot to fight for. So there's still a lot going for Chelsea. The main thing at the moment is I love the way they're playing. I think that Hazard, Mata, Oscar, those 3 are really performing well in that sort of system that they're playing. And at this moment in time, they look very confident, and they're hitting a confident form and good form at the right time, and this might take them over the line, who knows, with a couple of trophies and that Champions League spot that the owners certainly want every year.
Having had the full support of the fans at the Bridge, how hard do you think it's been for Rafa Benitez with everybody in that stadium not behind him?
It has been difficult for him. He would probably look at it and maybe think, well, if I'm not going to get this job, if I can go out in a blaze of glory with 2 trophies, that would probably be more important to him than maybe the Champions League spot. But if he gets the Champions League spot and he gets 2 trophies, my word, under those circumstances, he's got every chance of keeping the job. It has been difficult for him as well. It's not been easy, but he seems to have been able to cut away from all that, almost put himself in a bubble and say, well, if they don't want me, they want results, and if I give them results, that's all I can do, and I can either keep the job with my head held up or walk away from the job with his head held up. Either way, so I think he's done an immense job in many ways with the adversity that he's had to overcome.
The one thing Rafa hasn't been able to do is get Fernando Torres firing regularly. What do you think is the problem there?
Well, he is a class player, there's no doubt about that. He proved that in Spain, he proved it in Liverpool, and he's proved it at times for Chelsea against different opposition. It just hasn't happened. This happens in world football all the time. You bring a player in, it just doesn't click for him for whatever reason. Don't be surprised if Torres was to be sold tomorrow and went to a new club, he could start scoring 25 goals again. I think there might be a slight reasoning behind the hamstring that he had at the back end of Liverpool. Went to the World Cup, pulled it in the final, if I remember, right near the end. And I don't know whether he's really had that explosive bit of change of pace that he had. That might have eluded him now. But still a good player for me. Still a good player. Could go somewhere else and perform as good as he ever did at Liverpool.
Do you think that would be best for him to move on in the summer?
That is a difficult question. I don't know how settled he is at Chelsea. Chelsea might give him another year to see him prove, that he is a good player. I don't know. He's fractions away sometimes. He has to scratch his head sometimes. The frustration he shows, because he is fractions from scoring a lot of goals, and it just hasn't gone for him in a blue shirt at this moment in time. So possibly you could see him move on for his own sake, for his own career, and who would take him and what price they'll get him for would be the difficult thing. But I think as a player for him, and maybe his family, it might be right if he does move on, yeah.
As it stands, Frank Lampard's going to be leaving in the summer as well. Are you surprised by that?
I am, I must say. It's all, is he, isn't he? I mean, is that certain? Yeah, it's still not 100% certain, is it? I don't know. You tell me a midfield player that can score that amount of goals in the Premiership. I think there'll be a few big clubs as well queuing up to take Frank for another year, or leave him a little bit longer. He's a fit lad. He loves the game, which is something that always drives you on when you're older. and he'll score goals. He'll keep scoring goals. So I think it would be a big mistake if Chelsea didn't sign him and keep him.
If Frank gets the goal-scoring record at Chelsea by the end of this season, though, do you think he'll then just think, well, fair enough, you didn't want me, it's time for me to go anyway?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, obviously, he's not going to stay if they if they don't offer him a contract. He can't stay. I think he'd want to stay. I think he's a Chelsea man through and through now. He loves the club. He's done a fantastic job. You know, was it 200 goals from midfield as well? He's now playing a little bit deeper role. He's still in the England squad. Why would you look at him and think, well, is he past his best? I think they've got some real skillful players ahead of him in the three that we've talked about earlier, and he balances things off. And he'll come up. He'll score more goals than those three. I think they'll score more goals than Mata, Hazard, or Oscar. They do some fantastic things and they create a lot. But I think over a course of a season, if you played 30 games, all of them, Frank would come out on top every season, scoring more goals. So why would you throw him away? But you know, if he might move on and think, well, this is it, I can now move on and experience another club, and that might give him an injection of inspiration to go and play even better next year. So he can't lose really. If he stays at Chelsea, I think he'll do a great job, and if he moves, it'll be a bit different. It'll be a bit inspired to try and prove himself at another club.